this video, we are going to be talking a little bit more about the lumber industry. For those of you who don't know, I work at a lumber yard. I do retail sales for a living. Been doing this pretty much my entire life. Now, being in the building supply industry gives me a different kind of view than what most people would end up seeing when it comes to not only like economic activity from the retail side of things, distribution networks, stuff like the wholesale distribution of lumber, items like plywood, windows, doors, all the building material stuff. I get to see firsthand, boots on the ground perspective, much unlike anything else out there that most people are witnessing when it comes to the building industries, to the demand for it, from the lumber side of production. Very few people can put their fingers on the pulse of the industry like I can. Now, not saying like I'm bragging it up like I'm super smart about lumber beyond anybody else's capabilities out there. It's just that I am in a really good location for witnessing this stuff. Being in the Pacific Northwest, I know a lot of mill operators. I know people who are working truck drivers, like, as far as loggers, really, I don't, other retailers, like, again, there's no place that I can't really go to ask questions and find out what's going on. And right now, there's no demand. Demand for lumber is in the toilet. It is down about as low as I have ever seen it. Now, when it comes to the demand for lumber, you have a supply-demand side of things that then creates the prices that we are now witnessing. Many times, we would find that people would see lumber prices moving up dramatically, and then they would call greed and manipulation as being the factor within it. Even in this video, you're going to find people who are commenting about the greed and manipulation that has taken place within the lumber industry. And I, for one, am not seeing it in that fashion. I was able to call out the lumber industry and the depletion of lumber and the skyrocketing prices way in advance. Now, I didn't know how high those prices were going to go, and I didn't know how long it was going to last, but I knew that it was coming because of the inventory depletion that I was witnessing all throughout 2019, leading into the COVID pandemic, when they shut down the mills, shut down the distribution network, and everybody got a stimulus check, ran down, bought up all the lumber, and the prices shot through the roof. Everybody wanted to blame greed and manipulation of the COVID event on that, and I was one of the few people who were screaming, no, wait a minute, we were having inventory depletion of a massive proportion prior to COVID. Now, something we are witnessing is very similar right now. Is it the same thing? No, it's different, but it is somewhat in the fashion of a depleted inventory and a lack of demand that is happening out there that is setting us up for a very, very difficult situation going into the future. And that is, if the idea, right? What if, right? If the idea of ramping up production in homes actually comes to fruition, there is not enough material within the supply chain right now in order to supply a significant increase. If it was a little increase, yeah, absorbing that, building up production, ramping up the production of producing more lumber and more building materials, sure, that could take place. But if it's a fast increase, like all of a sudden things just change and everybody just runs out there to try and build a home, they're going to zap the inventory quite quickly, just simply from the fact that we've have such low production taking place right now. The mills have been in curtailment for quite some time, and anything under 550 per thousand, the mills just don't want to operate at that. Are there mills out there that will produce at 550 per thousand and be profitable? Sure, yeah, there's plenty of people out there who can do it. But for the majority of the mills, they want to produce above 550 per thousand. They would much rather be up in 600 per thousand. This is where the profit really starts to come in. And it was 2 months ago that we had lumber trading at, I think it was all the way up at like 685 per thousand. And that was towards the end of March, I believe. Well, let's see. It was February, March, April, May. Yeah, so I think it was at the end of March. It was trading at 685 per thousand. This contract, the current contract that we are looking at right now that is trading at under 550 is a May contract that's going to close here in like 10 days. Most likely we're not going to, I'm not anticipating some major rise to that contract before it closes on the 15th. I'm assuming that it's probably going to be somewhere in this neighborhood of the 550 per thousand or maybe even less. Think about this. We are going into the building season Right now, this is where production of homes would want to ramp up. Summertime is the time that you want to frame a home together to make sure that it's weathered in by the time that the winter comes, so that you can do the finish work on the inside, but you can have it weathered in by the time you get there. Right now, this is the building season. This is when you want to ramp up production, and we're watching the lumber demand fall. This is very, very telling. This is telling of the situation that we are in, and it's going to be telling of how the summer is going to go. If you have a lot of economic activity happening within the building industry, where you have builders ramping up production, you have a lot of supply that's moving through the system, you have a lot of labor that is taking part in putting those houses together, this is a good sign of the general economy out there. Building is probably the number one indicator. Lumber is the number one indicator when it comes to economic activity out there. And I know a lot of people will be like, oh no, man, it's trucking, it's rails, it's all this other stuff. I don't believe it. I believe it's in lumber. I believe that lumber is going to be the number one telling. It's going to be very sensitive to the situation, and it is going to be very responsive to the demand. If demand starts to increase, you're going to find prices go through the roof. It's inelastic. You have to think about this. This is inelastic demand that we're talking about. If you decide that you want to build a chicken coop, if you want to build a woodshed, if you want to do even a remodel on the house, and you find the economic situation not quite there to your liking, you can back away from that and say, hey man, maybe I'm not going to build the chicken coop or the woodshed or do that remodel this year. Right? But if you sign a contract saying, yes, I will build you a house, that is going through. That's going to take place regardless. And if you can't find the lumber out there to purchase, you will pay any price for it because you are under contract. That is inelastic demand. Elastic demand is when you can make the choice that says, yeah, I'm going to postpone and wait for next year to do it. Or you have inelastic demand, which means that you have to go out there and make that purchase regardless. So if we run into an economic situation in which that everybody is getting really excited, for example, not trying to predict anything, but for example, we have a situation in which tariffs are relieved and the Federal Reserve comes out and says, hey, we're going to be generally supporting the economy with the lowering of interest rates. People will be very encouraged by this. They will be like, oh, good, the times are getting better. It's not as horrid as we thought. There's going to be, a chance for us to actually go out there and build a house and feel good about the idea of bringing this to fruition, bringing it to completion, and having a product that would sell for the price that we are thinking, right? If you have this idea that the house is going to be less than what it, like if you go and start the house and build it, by the time you have it completed, if it sells for less than what you had anticipated, you're not going to be encouraged to go out there and start that house. But if you start the house today with the idea that you might be able to sell it for the expected price or even higher, then that's going to bring a lot of economic activity to the market, to the industry. Right? People are going to want to go out there and say, yeah, if these houses are selling, I want to participate in that. But if you don't see the houses selling, if buyer traffic is in the toilet, the builders are going to be like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to play this game. Like, why would I want to take the chances of investing my time, my efforts, my, hiring all these people, labor, all the things that go into building a house, only to have it not sell for the price that I had anticipated when I started the project? That right there is causing builders to slow down. This is one of the reasons why we are finding this gap in production that is happening within the industry, why it is that lumber has low demand for it. This is why it's selling under $550 per thousand instead of being up around $600 or $650 per thousand, which is the place that the mills would really want to be producing and would be a sign of the demand that is happening out there for it. All that stuff doesn't exist because we're in an incredibly difficult economic situation right now. Nobody wants to participate in it because nobody knows what's going on. Think about how many times have you heard the word uncertainty over the last 6 weeks? Right? Especially over the last 3 weeks. I mean, it is like in every single article that I read is the word uncertainty. It's like almost being pushed out there. Make sure that everybody knows that it's uncertain out there, that nobody can be in any kind of certainty, right? They got to make sure that they just have confusion and mass confusion to go around, and that's exactly what has taken place. So when the people feel this anxiety, they don't want to participate. They want to back away and say, hey man, I'm going to lock myself up in my house and wait for the dust to settle. when you have a situation in which that this is being pushed, like this idea of like scary economic times and everything's going to slow down and shelves are going to be empty and all this other stuff that goes with it, this is really like discouraging the people from participating, but it doesn't mean that they don't want to. And I think that's important to understand, is that what it does is it forces the demand to be pent up, right? People want that chicken coop. People want the woodshed. People want to do the remodel. They want a house, but they don't want to do it at the wrong time. And if they are feeling uncertain, that's going to give them the feeling that they're doing it at the wrong time. The moment that that switches around, where all of a sudden people are like, okay, the tariffs are being alleviated and, you know, economic activity is ramping up and interest rates are coming down and everybody's singing Kumbaya again, that's going to all of a sudden force, not even force, right? I mean, that's the wrong word. That's going to release the pent up pressure of people feeling uncertain, right? If the uncertainty fades away, people are going to become certain, and then they're going to start acting in that fashion that says, yeah, I want the woodshed, I want the, you know, the chicken coop, I want to participate in the building of a home, I want to do all that, right? But until that actually happens, you're going to find that people are literally just going to back away and sit and wait and see. And this is a reflection of it. Just take a look at the lumber prices right now, dropping literally less than 2 weeks away from them closing during a time in which that the demand for it should be ramping up. Like this, if this isn't telling of the economic activity and the environment that we are in today, I don't know what is. It's like the number one indicator for me. And I know, again, it's because of the industry that I am in, and a lot of people would say, oh no, there's better indicators out there. Maybe. Right? Maybe for you as a truck driver or something, and all the different stops that you are doing, you're going to be able to recognize things pretty quickly from doing that. I recognize things from not only distribution, manufacturing, retail side, there's no part of this industry that I can't see. And I'm telling you right now that it is not healthy. Right? If this market isn't healthy, then the rest of the economy isn't healthy either. There's no way that it can be. Right? When you start seeing people participating in the idea of new construction, of remodeling that house, of building those additions, of building the new house itself, right? When you start seeing people moving forward in that direction, then you're going to start seeing the economy doing better as well. But until that happens, you can just assume that it's probably going to be slow and very difficult to continue on into the future. People are like, man, is it going to turn around? Is it going to turn around in the next couple of months? I can guarantee you it's not going to turn around in the next couple of months if the demand for lumber isn't there. Why would it? Like once the demand for lumber starts to ramp up, I can guarantee you after that, you're going to start seeing a lot of economic activity happening. But until that happens, I can almost assure you, no way. All right. All right, 13 minutes into this one. Thank you all for joining in on the live stream. Let's go and answer some of these questions, read some of these comments in through here. We got, no, I'm not reading that one. Okay. Big Dumb Walrus. I love the name. We shall see. Buffett is more of a long-term guy. He might be wrong, though. Cheap lumber sounds like a good thing. Not a good thing, not a bad, might be bad for lumber profits. No, what it is, it's good or bad, it doesn't really matter. To me, like, I like it when lumber is low and there's a lot of demand for it because I'm selling more lumber. I don't make money off of lumber. I make money off of the screws. I make money off of the little hardware bits that go off of it. I make money off of, you know, all the other things that put lumber together, right? Like lumber is a lost leader. I don't know if people realize that. There's no money in lumber. You don't make it. Like you have to put such a little margin on it in order to be competitive against everybody else that there is no money in it for lumber yards. I just laugh when people say, oh, those greedy lumber yards or greedy, you know, lumber tycoons or something like that. And I'm thinking there's not really that much profit inside of that. It's a big ticket item, right? So you're selling thousands of dollars of it when it goes out to buying a house, but the money is made in everything else that puts a house together besides the lumber, you know? So, you know, when the lumber is cheap and there's a lot of demand for it, to me, that's a good thing. Like that's the best position that I would think a lumber yard would want to be in. Because if you're selling a lot of lumber that's really cheap, you have to sell a lot of nails and screws and glue and everything else that goes with it. And that's what you really want to sell. You know? All right. Okay. Loss leader, a product that does not provide much profit, if at all, but draws customers to buy more profitable products. That's exactly right. All right, have you seen Tesla bots? There's our replacement. All right. Hometown Buffett is good. Simon is what we'd call a mixed use development. All right, Benny. All right, the greatest investment is faith in Jesus Christ. All right, should I buy lumber now or later? I wouldn't hesitate. Right now, lumber's not going to get much cheaper on the retail side of things. Like, could it possibly get cheaper? Sure. But it's really pretty low right now, considering what we have experienced over the last few years. Now, if you had asked me, like back in 2018, if lumber was cheap right now at the price that it is, I would say no. It would be cheaper at $2 a stick as opposed to $4 a stick. But considering the events that have happened over the last few years and knowing that the added input cost going into these mills is not going to give them an ability to be profitable under 550 per thousand, right now, this is it. This is about as cheap as you can get it. Can it get cheaper? Sure. Right? I mean, it could go all the way down to 200 per thousand and be half the price of what it is today. But I guarantee you, there's not going to be a mill out there operating, producing anything at that low of a price. And so if there was a demand for it, it would never make it that low. It would, like the 200 per thousand mark would just not even be possible if you had any kind of demand. It would have to be literally no demand taking place at all in order for it to get cheaper like that. So in my opinion, when you have low demand that's taking place right now and you have low production, mill curtailments that are happening, there's not a whole lot of more room to go down. Like this is it, right? And again, if there was something dramatic that happened out there that, caused the demand to fall even further, like locking everybody up and telling them not to go to work or something, if that sort of situation, the unforeseen, then yeah, I mean, all bets be off. But at this time, what I'm witnessing and everything out there, lumber doesn't get much cheaper than this, right? And so I wouldn't hesitate if I wanted lumber or needed lumber in the next couple of months. Like right now would not be a bad time to do it. But again, I'm also not seeing the demand side of things ramping up. If I saw interest rates falling and buyer traffic starting to come back to market and the builders getting excited, I would have a whole different attitude about lumber. I'd be like, dude, it's about ready to fly. But I don't see that happening. So as far as I can tell, lumber is still fairly cheap, and it's going to be remaining cheap into the foreseeable future until that sentiment changes, right? If the builder, like the home builder sentiment on buyer traffic, like that specific, not just home builder sentiment on, all the rest of I think there's a few different categories that they go through, like, was it like selling conditions and all this, like they have all these different aspects that they look at. The buyer traffic is about as low as you could possibly get it as far as the home builder sentiment goes. When you see buyer traffic moving up and becoming positive, it's game on, right? But that is so far away from happening right now because the buyer traffic is essentially gone. I just don't see where the builder is going to be ramping up production or demand for lumber. Not until that changes. So you can have a preliminary indicator just by looking at that. Home builder sentiment on buyer traffic. Literally that, right? Not the home builder sentiment on other things, which are probably good indicators. But if you want the number one, just one thing to follow that. Once that goes positive, it's on. It's going to be on. And there's not going to be enough lumber in the system to really supply a significant increase in demand. And I don't know what exactly a significant increase in demand would actually curtail, but I can tell you right now, with every single day, there's less buyers and less buyers. That's pent up demand. It's not like they don't want the house, they just don't want to buy it in this condition. So they go to the sidelines, and every day there's more and more people who are building up on the sidelines, and this is pent up demand, right? Once it comes into the ability for them to actually be able to buy a house, whether interest rates come down or prices come down or they make more income or something is alleviated in that, they're going to jump in as soon as they can. All right. The best thing to have in a recession is a job. As long as crappy plywood is over $40 a sheet, nobody is going to be building a large number. They've been gouging for years. So Carl, again, you're wrong on the idea of plywood being over $40 a sheet. Right now, I'm selling CDX 5-ply at $26 a sheet. I can get you 4-ply at $22 a sheet, something of that nature. Lumber prices are down right now. I don't know where people get this idea that lumber prices are high. There's no the tariff idea is absolute crap when it comes to lumber. All these stories that I heard of all these lumber companies increasing their prices ahead of the tariffs were literally like acting in a panic mode. It didn't happen. There is no lumber tariff, right? There's a lumber duty that had been put on Canadian lumber, has always been on Canadian lumber. It's always going to be on Canadian lumber because they have so massive amounts of it, and it's subsidized by their government, and they try to dump cheap lumber into the United States, and it's always been a problem. It's not new. This is a very old game, right? It goes all the way back into the 80s. And when people like want to bring this back up again and say, oh man, what is this going to do to lumber prices? I'm like, nobody cares about this until it's in the news, right? Nobody cares about it, years ago as it was happening. Nobody cared then. But once it's blasted into the news, all of a sudden they're like, oh no, I'm going to lose my mind because lumber prices are going to go through the roof. And I'm like, they come to me and I try to explain it and they're like, oh, well, I don't know. I guess the news knows more than you do, dude, and then they get it wrong. And so it's... Anyway, moving on. What time is it? All right, I got a few more minutes out here. Dirk, I'd be placing a small order for some pine soon. Hope that helps. The Fed will do nothing on Wednesday. More pain. Deplorable. Everything is twice as high as it was in 2019, including plywood. You're wrong. At my local Home Depot, it was $9.95 a sheet, and now it's $18.98 a sheet. Okay, so what I'm assuming is that you were looking at the OSB market, right? OSB plywood, which is a sheathing plywood, which is one of the cheapest ones out there, was selling for well over $20 a sheet prior to 2019, back in 2018. There was a huge price drop that took place during 2019 that dropped lumber prices like you wouldn't believe. It took it from, in 2018, that peaked out at $650 per thousand, right? At that time, it was the highest that lumber had ever been at. Right after that, there was a huge drop, one of the biggest drops in lumber history had taken place. It went from $650 per thousand down all the way to $300 per thousand, right? In fact, I think it even touched down into like the $295 at one point. That right there absolutely devastated the lumber market. All the mill curtailments that were being conducted during 2019 zapped the inventory like you wouldn't believe. Nobody could be producing at that low of a price and expect to make a profit. At 2019, there was pain and misery and hell that was being paid by all the lumber producers, especially those in the British Columbia area. You want to think that they were profitable at that time? You want to talk about how cheap lumber right there was a benefit to you when those guys were losing their livelihood up there? You want to look back to 2019 and say, oh, how come they were making money back then, but now they have it double the price? They weren't making money back then. If you go back and you watch my videos, you're going to find that there was massive mill curtailments and shutdowns and hell to be paid up there. There was places like 100 Mile up there where there was generations of people who were losing their entire livelihood, right? This was 2019, the same time that you're saying, oh man, we had cheap lumber back then. How come they can't do it now? They couldn't do it then. They failed miserably. Zapped out all the inventory because nobody was producing it. And then in 2020, we had a COVID pandemic and stimulus checks, and everybody ran out there and bought all this lumber, and it shot through the roof because there was no available supply. Inelastic demand. I explain this over and over again. If you want to blame it on the political atmosphere, if you want to blame it on them rich, greedy, corporations out there, then why don't you include the fact that they were losing everything that they had in the British Columbia area back in 2018 going into 2019 because of the low prices that were being paid for by lumber by the lumber retail side of things, or the lumber demand side of things. All right? I mean, you can call it for whatever you want, but I was there witnessing it. I was putting it out there on my videos. I was showing it daily on what was taking place. But if you want to go back and say, hey, man, those greedy corporations, right? Well, why don't you include the fact that they were shutting down operations and losing massive production, having to shut down those mills and move them over to another location to where the actual lumber would be, profitable lumber. See, a lot of people don't realize it, that the British Columbia area had been a high output, high cost, high output producer. Meaning like the lumber that came out of there was more expensive to produce than just about anywhere else it was. And they also produced an insane amount of it. Now, when that lumber prices drop, they shut production like that. They're done. They're high cost producers, meaning that the amount that they have to pay to produce is more expensive than just about anywhere else out there. And if the price falls, they're done. They shut down shop up in the British Columbia area, and these Canadian mills are now setting up shop down in the southern part of the United States. I don't know how many people realize that. Right? Canadian mills are setting up shop in the United States. Where do you think the profit's going to go? Do you think that's going to go to the United States? Do you think they pay tariffs when they're producing within the United States and selling to the United States? This is what's happening right now. It's not easy to see this picture in a holistic fashion. All right. All the way down to the bottom. I'm much stronger and more sexually attractive than any educated economist. Well, Dirk, good for you, man. All right. It cost $1,000 to build an OSB T111 crap box now. All right. Even here, fresh country eggs, 40 cents. I'm not reading Beloved because he does nothing but throw negative attitude about everything that is ever done around here. Beloved, why don't you find another place to go to? All right, deplorable. Look, I didn't mean to get you upset. I'm just saying you need to double your income every 4 years just to... No, what the thing is that you're blaming... What you do is you're blaming out exteriors, is what it is, all right? Not realizing that everything is all around you in complete abundance all the time. It doesn't matter about having to make 4 times the much money or whatever. Like, that part is really your limitations on what it is that you have set yourself up for. You don't, it doesn't work like that. Money is not anything more than another energy out there, just like anything else. And once you have stepped into the flow of it, it's very simple and easy. If you make it difficult, if you believe it's difficult, if you set yourself in a position in which that is hard and you're constantly trying to chase it, then it's going to run. It's going to be difficult. You're going to find that everything out there in the world seems to limit you from being able to acquire it, but yet it flies all over the place constantly. Right? All you have to do is learn how to reach out there and grab it. But most people have themselves in a mindset that says, no, it's hard, it's difficult, it's distance, it's, it's a pain or whatever, when it's not. It's literally not that way. And once you have changed the mindset of it and it says, no, man, this stuff is going to be easy and abundance can flow, then it's like all the worries of like, oh man, they're not acting appropriately, or oh man, those people are gonna, devastate my life, and all that, like all those externals, they fade away. They're not as important anymore as the decisions that you're making that are now leading you in the appropriate path. I can't tell you what that is for you. You have to figure that out for yourself, and you have to be in the mindset that says, yes, this is easy, I can do this. All right? Once you do that, it just becomes flowing and it becomes easy and it's not hard. It's only when you think it is that it is. We got to pray just to make it to the day that we. All right. All new mowers, chainsaws, etc. are super cheap. Chineseism too. That might last a year if you're lucky. Nobody making money. You need to earn it. All right. Hey, Simon. Greetings from Sandy, Oregon. Right on. Local. Smash the like button. Yes, please do. Thank you. Building is gone dead here too. Stagflation is upon us. Anything can be currency. The world is proving it every day. Yeah, and I totally agree with that. Like, I'm thinking to myself, the other day, I went up and hung out on the beach with a friend, with a group of friends, and we were up there around the campfire and just chilling out, having conversation. And I'm thinking to myself, man, this is awesome, right? Like, this is a comfortable, we're having fun. It's like, it's peaceful. Everything about it was just awesome. And I'm thinking, you couldn't pay any money to have this any better. Like, I don't know what it would be that would make it any better than just sitting around, having good conversation around a campfire on the beach, watching the sunset. Like, that's it. That was as good as it could possibly be. And if you were to try and make it any better, it would just ruin it. Yeah. And it didn't cost much. It literally cost me more to drive there than anything else. Yeah. Once you see that wealth is not money, it's food, conveniences, and pleasures of life. If you have food, if you have plenty to eat, if you have the conveniences that you want in your life, you can travel, you can, you got the things going on, right? Then it just comes down to pleasures of life. This doesn't have anything to do with money. Money is just another abstract energy thing that's out there. And it's so odd to, once you see it that way. Like, you don't see it if you're in desire of it. If you're in desire of it, the whole thing just becomes very clouded and difficult to understand. But once you don't have that desire for the money itself, and you just have the feelings of, I want like the pleasurable experiences in my life that are unique to what it is that I enjoy. Like I said, food is pretty easy. Like a ribeye, I'm pretty happy with that. A view, that's like, I live in one of the most beautiful areas in the world. Everywhere I look is a beautiful view, right? This is what I'm paying for in order to have in my life, right? It's expensive to live here, but this is what I get for it, right? Food, conveniences, pleasures of life. Man, you don't need money for any of that stuff. All that stuff can be found without money, and you can be completely wealthy. It's hard to be in that mindset, because we have been so conditioned that says you need to have money in your life, and you need a lot of it. And once you have a lot of it, you'll be happy. And that is so wrong. There is nothing that could be further from the truth. There is nothing that could be further from the truth. Money will never, like, the abundance of money will not be the thing that makes you happy or satisfied or content with your life. When it's not there, when you don't have it, it seems like that is the most important thing in the entire world. If I only had that, right? And believe me, man, like, I had the one thing that I wanted in my life was to be able to pay my bills on time. Once I was able to do that, all of a sudden I didn't look at money the same way. Like, people were like, oh man, I want to be able to take fancy vacations and, have, fancy cars and all this other stuff. And I'm thinking, well, I could probably do that stuff in my life, but that doesn't seem to be very important to me. What was important to me was being able to pay my bills on time, not stress about that, and then have as much time with my family as I could. That was important to me, and I'm totally getting that. Like, all the money in the world wouldn't make that any better for me. If you said, hey man, I can show you a way of making $1 million a year, but you're gonna have to sacrifice time with your family, it wouldn't be worth it. It just simply wouldn't. Like, why would I do that? Like, I want to spend more time with my family, not less, And being able to spend as much time with my family and pay my bills on time and essentially be able to do whatever I want, so long as I essentially don't do it, that is giving me the ability to then be feeling free and, abundant and everything else. I don't have this huge bank account. I don't drive fancy cars. I don't have any of that stuff in my life, but yet I feel like I have more now than I could ever possibly have ever dreamed. And it's not because of the money. The money is, I don't even make that much money. Like, I mean, I do okay, but I'm in an expensive area, so it costs a lot to live here. Once you see it that way, it becomes a whole different world. Hey, beloved, why don't I mean, dude, I'm really close to just canceling. Like, I don't even know why I would, but I'm really close to just like, booting you off the channel altogether. I don't know why you're even here or comment the way you do. I really appreciate people who are here, who want to be here, who really enjoy the videos, and who want to like take the information and try and use it to better themselves. Those are the type of people that I want here. I want to enjoy the conversation. I want them to enjoy the conversation. But if you just want to be here to give me a hard time and just to, basically call me an idiot and stuff, I think that you should probably find another channel to be at, right? I mean, I think this isn't appropriate for you. It's not appropriate for me. It's not appropriate for the comment section. So I think you just need to go, And I mean, it's not that hard. Like, I don't like doing that, but I mean, if you're just going to be here and just be disruptive, I don't know why I would want you in my, like, if you were in my house, right, and I had opened up the door and I said, hey man, come on in, anybody can come on in and have a conversation and hang out in here, and then you're in my house being disruptive, do you expect me to leave you to do that? I mean, really. You're disrupting everybody else's conversation. You make it hard for everybody. You make it hard on, hard for me and hard on everything going on around here. Why would I do that? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I only want people here who want to be here. And if you don't want to be here, I would appreciate it if you just go, I mean, that's easy enough. Just, there's the door, go find your way out. And then we don't have to deal with you anymore. All right, just got here. What did I miss? All kinds of stuff, Mr. Balloon Pimp. Thank you for being here today. All right, it's just jackass patrons of Digital Bar who should be removed. Not complicated, All right, I do not get how people get their rocks off trolling the internet. Well, I understand what's going on there. It's what it is I don't know why we get into talking about this. We have so much other things that we should be talking about that are much more productive. But what it comes down to is that people have a tendency to lose the ability to have a connection with other people. Like, they literally have no friends. They have no family that they can really relate to. They don't have anything going on in their life. And because they don't have any of that, like, connection and that feeling, what they do is they get out there and they start trolling people on the internet so they can get some sort of like stimulating response that makes them feel anything, even if it's like dislike or discomfort or hatred or something. At least it's a feeling inside of them, right, that they can then then do something with, because until then they're just sitting there completely feelingless with no stimulation going on, and there's nothing out there in their life that they have for themselves. And so they just come out here on the internet and they do this. They disrupt the conversation. They make it, disgusting for everybody out there, because their world is disgusting. So they want everybody to share in that disgustingness. All right? And that's really what it comes down to. It's a sad thing to see. And that's one of the reasons why I just don't block people like that right away, is because I feel sorry for them. I want them to be part of this conversation, to be encouraging, and to have their life become better for being part of this conversation, for being part of this channel. Like, that's what I want for people. But if they are purposefully being disruptive in order to create some sort of feeling or stimulus within them, because they don't have any feelings any other way, then I'm sorry, you're gonna have to find another channel. Right? Because that's not what we're doing here. We're not here to deal with your mental health issues. Like, I mean, we do sometimes. Like, I talk about my alcoholism and all the issues that I had because of it, and tried to share some of those stories. But we're not here to, throw mental health issues out there so that, we can deal with your issues, All right, moving on. I can always spot kids who have bad parents by seeing how they act on the playground. Oh yeah, my wife does. She's a teacher assistant, and yeah, no kidding. Trolls come in different forms. I think some people who have genuine curiosities, but others are just trying to stir the pot. For sure. Like, I can understand having a general curiosity or trying to even be funny. Like, I mean, sometimes I'm the comedian and I like roasting people, to kind of make fun of them, to draw out some of some of the idiosyncrasies that are in people or whatever, those kind of weird things. I like making fun of that too, but I only roast people I truly actually like, right? I mean, otherwise I wouldn't pick on you. Like, if I'm picking on somebody, if I'm making fun or picking on them or joking or whatever, I only do that to people I really like. I won't do it to people I don't like. If I don't like you, I wouldn't give you that sort of consideration whatsoever, right? And I know that's funny for a lot of people to hear, but it's the truth of it, you know? All right. Are we done here? What time is it? Oh, yeah, we're done, guys. I got to go. But you're awesome. We got so many people up in here. 587 people watching. This was a great live stream. I really enjoyed it. 156 likes. Thank you so much for hitting that like button. Keep beloved on we don't mind. No, deplorable you don't mind. All right, everybody else has a hard time with them. But that's okay. We already know, we understand completely what it is that he's up to, and you know, we feel sorry for him. So you're right. I mean, we should keep him around just so, you know, he has somebody to talk to, since nobody else wants to talk to him in his life. All right, Uneducated Economist, you guys let me know.